Good evening, everyone. So, I've decided to take a little bit of time out and talk about the Netflix Castlevania series. I am a big fan of the Castlevania video games, something I've probably established before. I've also probably talked about disliking the first season of the Netflix animated series. I didn't go back and revisit the first season. I haven't watched it since it first came out in 2017. But I did go to my local public library, and I found they had season 2 of Castlevania there, and one of my coworkers has been like hitting me over the head with, "Oh, you've got to watch it. It's so great. It gets so much better." So I decided to take a chance there, and yeah, I'm going to talk about that now. First, I'm going to get out of the way a little bit about my thoughts on Season 1. Spoiler alert, I didn't like it, as I've already mentioned. So, I don't remember a ton about it. I remember the first episode kind of tried to sum up Dracula and Lisa's backstory, and I don't think it's very accurate to the games. I don't remember anything about Dracula being some kind of like scientist or something. But, you know, roll with it. You gotta flesh things out somehow, because apparently Dracula isn't interesting enough without science. But in any case, yeah, Lisa is burned at the stake rather than crucified as in the games. Because church think science bad, which is what's called conflict thesis, which is not actually supported by historical record, by the way. But it's very popular in pop culture. But in any case, so you know, this whole thing is based on conflict thesis, and also the church in Romania, in Eastern Europe, appears to be Roman Catholic, which is itself kind of funny. I mean, I get that the games, you know, predominantly used a lot of, you know, Gothic iconography, which spurs from, you know, Catholic cathedrals. But, I mean, if they want it to be more grounded, you know, maybe consider getting the church right. I mean, the Catholic Church did have some sway in Europe during that time. I mean, political differences between the Catholic and the Orthodox, and later the Protestant. What the hell is with these controls? Were definitely a big part of the history of what was going on at the time, but the series decides to simplify that and go with what I suppose is more well-known to the audience. I can't say they do a very good job with it, since it's really jarring, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with criticizing the medieval Catholic Church. I mean, they had plenty of weird problems, and definitely did a lot of shady things, indulgences for one, which oddly doesn't come up. But at the same time, portraying everyone in the church as a thug motivated by, you know, greed or power is probably not accurate. You have to think that there are probably at least a few decent people in the organization. I mean, I think my encounters with circa 2010 internet has just soured me on the whole edgy anti-religious sentiment in Western pop culture thing. And anyway, so what we get with Season 1 of Castlevania is basically, I would describe it as either great value Vampire Hunter D, Or maybe Dollar Store Berserk. And that's about all I have to say. It's just edgy for the sake of edgy, and the story sucks, the acting sucks. This will come up again, but my big issue with the acting is the, which is weird because I've heard the acting in seasons 1, and, well, in the Netflix series to be really praised. The only person that does a good job with the acting at all is whoever's playing Dracula. He's actually very good. Everyone else, the entirety of every performance is, I'm a bold British man. I'm a bold British man, and I'm speaking a bit fast and mumbling, and then I punctuate it with the word fuck. That's about the level of it's about the level of dialogue you're going to get in Castlevania. I mean, I know people will go on about, oh, the dialogue in the games wasn't anything good either. What is a man? I mean, yeah, maybe it wasn't great, but I mean, don't you want to elevate it a little bit? I mean, you've got this gothic horror series. Do you want it to be, you know, have some gravitas to it, or do you want it to just be, you know, low fantasy the whole way through? Because, I mean, that's what you get with Castlevania. Netflixvania, that is. The animation is really good. I can't fault the animation at all. It's probably the only consistently good thing about the series. The animation is very well done, and obviously done by people much more talented than the writers or actors. And I really shouldn't be playing a game while trying to talk about this, because I'm not one of those people that can stream and talk at the same time very well. Anyway, Season 2, you know, starts with Trevor and Sypha and Alucard, you know, regrouping after, you know, whatever the hell happened in Season 1. I don't remember. It was so generic and unremarkable that... And, the thing about them that bothers me is, as the writing goes, they all have the exact same voice. Not the exact same voice actor, though Alucard and Trevor are much closer than they should be. You should maybe have one, like in the PlayStation version of Symphony of the Night, Alucard has a very deep baritone and Richter is more of a tenor. You know, maybe go with that, so there's a little bit more vocal distinction. But by voice, I mean they all act the same way. They all talk the same way. They're all snarky and, you know, kind of profane and just always tearing each other down, and I don't think there's a moment of sincerity between any of them in the entire series, and honestly they all come off as kind of unlikable. Sypha is definitely in the girl boss category. Not to use a particularly charged term, but I mean that's kind of how she acts. She's better than everyone, and you know, she's there to put the boys in their place. And that's like literally all there is to her character. She has no other personality than that. Other than she's apparently an enemy of God because, you know, these people that hunt vampires, I don't know. And back to talking about the voice acting. This is not a structured review. This is just me rambling my ass off. I really should have written something down and recorded some something. I may have to just take the footage here and overlay commentary on it or something. But yeah, back to the voice acting, since I spent a whole minute meandering with that shit. There's, again, 90% of it is bored British people, and then there's Godbrand, who is the worst character in the show. And that's in a litany of terrible, ill-advised characters. Godbrand is like, I think he's supposed to be a Viking, but he sounds like he's a cowboy half the time, and he is retarded. Like literally, he doesn't do anything particularly helpful. He just hinders his side the entire time. He and some other vampires just go slaughter a village for fun. Like, I get that they're bad guys, but I mean, aren't these people just butchering their food source with no intent to use them? He's even the person that brings up that Dracula's plan to annihilate humanity is, you know, going to destroy their cattle, so to speak. Yet he's leading a raid to, you know, just murder people for no reason. So, you know, his character motivations make no sense. And, Carmilla's entire character is men. Ugh. Like, I don't wanna come off as, you know, someone that's, you know, pulling the whole, you know, that, you know what I mean. I don't want to be painted with that brush, but like that's her whole character. She's just, you know, she's just evil and female. That's her entire character. That's all she has to define herself. Yeah, the music is mostly pretty forgettable. The only use of Castlevania music is the frankly overused Bloody Tears from Simon's Quest. Anyway, yeah, like I said, this might end up being kind of a first draft before I can put together a better video. I thought I might be able to do this better, but frankly, I'm not that good at talking and playing at the same time. Especially when I'm trying to actually stick to a subject. And I keep going over this because I'm apparently an idiot. So... yeah, I don't... That was weird. It was like... But yeah, I didn't find the story or the characters particularly good. It was like... It was an attempt at, you know, dark fantasy with more politics and stuff, like Game of Thrones or The Witcher, and that can be done well in The Witcher. Specifically, The Witcher books and games, not the not the TV series. But yeah, it seems like, you know, they're like, all right, we want to make our own Game of Thrones. We got this IP from Konami, so we're gonna make a Game of Thrones, but with vampires. And to be fair, Game of Thrones with vampires sounds a hell of a lot better than Castlevania actually turned out. But yeah, I'm not impressed with this. It's not well written. It's very phoned in acting wise. I don't see what people like so much about this. I mean, I get that the animation is fantastic. That's something I can't fault them with. But everything else is just so terrible. I have no idea why anyone would choose to subject themselves to this. Like, Dracula fucking Naruto runs at one point. Like, literally, he's slaughtering a village for reasons, and out of nowhere, he just starts Naruto running. I mean, he's wearing a cloak, but you can tell. I mean, come on. I've seen every season of that shit. I know what a Naruto run looks like, and, you know... Honestly, I would watch Tales of the Vampire Hokage before I'd watch another season of Castlevania. So, yeah. That's how I'd adapt Kid Dracula into an animated series, where Alucard decides he's going to become the next lord of the Demon Castle. Believe it. And speaking of, let's just talk about aesthetics. I mean, the series looks great, but I mean, it's very, very clear that they've ripped off Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust to no end. Like, if Japanese studios were more I don't know why people insist on defending it, but yeah, people will make all kinds of excuses for the creators of media they like. I mean, in some cases, you should be able to, you know, separate the art from the artist. But at the same time, if someone's a piece of shit, you should call them a piece of shit and say, you know, yeah, I know they're a piece of shit, but I still like the thing they created. Like, at least have the balls to admit it. But I don't think any of the people that like Netflixvania are particularly attached to their balls. They just see nice animation and they say, "Oh, I've gotta tell people how good this is. It's so good." You know, I might be a little bit more accepting of it if it had not had the Castlevania name attached to it, because that brings with it certain expectations. For lack of a better term, there's a certain, I don't know, a certain level of elegance I associate with Castlevania. I mean, it's very much in the vein of the Hammer horror movies. Maybe you don't consider that elegant, but I think there's a little bit of it to it. Tiny devil. Oh, you can knock the skeleton's head off. It's been a long time since I played this. Yeah, the Sorrow games are far from my favorite Castlevania, but they're pretty alright. They've got an interesting system that I'm not entirely sure I'm in love with, but it works. I mean, look at that. Is that what you call swimming? Tasty meat. They're like, "Hey ladies, I've got some tasty meat." Please don't tell my girlfriend I just said that. Not to be taken seriously. My review opinions are the only part of this I want to be taken seriously, not my lame attempts at humor. So there's nowhere I can really go with the underwater reservoir for or underground reservoir, you might call it. Let's see, what else can I talk about? So I've been playing through Dark Souls, and I'm further along than I've ever been before. I think I'm within sight of the end of the game. I just have 2 more Lord Souls, I think, to get. I need to get the 4 Kings and the Bed of Chaos Souls. And then I think there's 1 or 2 more bosses after that, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, maybe I'll switch over to that for a minute. Okay. Okay, I quick saved there. Let's